Welcome back to your guide on fractional work as an individual on this journey. So, by now, you probably have dug into this is the route I want to go, or let me start making my plan. And that's the phase we're in now. So, if you feel like you're not there yet, please stop and go back to some of the beginning videos in this playlist to start exploring what is fractional work, what does that look like for me, how do you get opportunities, because now we're shifting into the plan, the actual steps that you're going to take as you become a fractional worker. It's also important to keep in mind that there's another playlist for organizations on how do they approach fractional work that you might want to check out some of those videos as well to see what our organizations go through as they start transitioning their workforce from full-time to fractional work, because it will aid your journey in closing some of those gaps and help you take the next steps on your own individual journey. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. Go ahead and hop into my newsletter where you can get notified when we have free webinars or new products out. And then I'm out on other social media channels as well. This episode is going to be focused on transitioning from full-time to fractional work, which I want to emphasize the word transition. Sometimes we flip the switch, sometimes we make a decision, and it's kind of a shock. And it was a shock to me as well. Now, I didn't go fractional work. It wasn't as available when I went into my business 2 years ago. It would have been nice, but I did part-time work. And even that shift from full-time to part-time work as I built my business was a shock. It was definitely a change factor, and I love change, but that was a lot. And so I want you to start getting in the mindset of planning this transition. Make sure that you're not discounting that you have been groomed since your school years to basically work a full-time job. And so going into freelance work, contract work, fractional work is a whole different game. It's going to be a different mindset of juggling personal freedom and accountability to your own actions. It's going to be a juggle in the discipline that you have to put in to stay focused because you don't have a boss directly above you. You won't be getting performance reviews. You'll be losing clients if you do a bad job. That's a good indicator. But you're not going to have this umbrella around you that you're used to from your school years, from your 9-to-5 career. And so it's going to be a transition, and getting this ready early on will ease some hurdles and challenges later. And that's a whole episode that I'm going to go through. I'm going to probably break that up actually into two because I want people to really see the hurdles ahead of time so they can start to prep for that and be better set up. Now, planning for the transition is important to assess when you're ready. If you're not ready to network with people, create a plan of what is going to be your personal brand, really hone into your expertise, constantly learning about it and evolving with it, probably not the time for you. And that's okay. You're not going to miss the boat. Deloitte says that by 2030, 50% of the workforce will be freelance contract or fractional work. There's going to be a place for you. I would rather have people ready for this transition than struggling and then going back into the workforce because they got a little taste of this flexibility and personal freedom, and then they had to go back and now they're being micromanaged by their boss or whatever the situation is. So planning that transition and knowing your hurdles specifically will be important. I think that the biggest things that I see in those transition periods from other people is they weren't ready, or they were so burnt out from their organization that they went off on their own and now they're struggling with burnout and creating a business in this fractional work. And in case you're like, oh, Kelly, ouch, that was me. That was me as well. I was burning out in 2021. I was very good at training. I'm progressive in my approach to the workforce, and so I started training on that while I was also recovering from burnout. It was a lot. It wasn't something I should have been doing. I should have been giving my mind rest. I should have been getting out of survivorship mode and then transitioning into this type of fractional work. But other factors in play in my life just force the transition early. The other thing to consider is financials. So as you get into fractional work, people won't know your name as much as you think. You might have the expertise. You might be the person that changes the game. But if no one knows your name, no one's hiring you. So how are you going to financially plan that your every other week payroll is gone? How are you going to plan that for 6 months to 2 years, you're going to have a very light clientele that you're going to have to build a network and market yourself out and build your portfolio. So the cool thing about fractional work, though, is you can also work part-time somewhere. So say you're really that good in your organization, they want to keep you. You say, all right, here's the thing. Let me go part-time. Let me go part-time, and then I'm going to start this fractional journey. Because you still have income coming in your organization, you're really honing down on your value as well. You're not doing all that nonsense work. And then over here, you start to build your fractional work. You start to bring your portfolio. You start to work with other clients outside your organization. And really, that idea came from I was networking with someone and they wanted to get into fractional work. And I said, well, what are you an expert at? And they said this. And I said, okay, what type of clients would you work for? And they basically just mimicked the employer that they've been with for the last 20 years, his role. And I said, okay, so you're just doing your role again. Then just stay in this company. Why go through the nonsense of a fractional work? Yeah, you get flexibility, but you're also losing benefits in all these other financial sectors. So just stay there. And so you have to be ready to transition to exploring other clients, exploring where your expertise is really valued. And you can't just mimic things that you have done in this one organization because it's not going to be a good fit for other organizations. You're not setting yourself up for success. If you want to be a solution partner to a company, you have to have multiple solutions to apply. So what I told him is go get another job outside of this company. I want you to go get another job, explore different company culture, practices, procedures, personalities, and then get into fractional work. Because right now you only got one set of experiences, one set of ideas, one set culture. It's not going to apply everywhere. So he's got to explore out and experiment with other type of personalities and tools and processes before he can get into fractional work and really be that solution partner. So that's a good idea, is to just go down to part-time and then start your fractional work. So this reducing of hours will allow you to start some of these gigs, this fractional work, and then it also allows your employer to start to transition out. Now, the cool thing is I've also seen people where they need to reduce their workload to start this fractional journey. They have the conversation with their employer, and their employer says, hey, what if we just hire you as a fractional worker? Oh, your first client, great, celebrate. And then it also gives you that buffer room for financially gaining other clients. So how could you mix and match it? Again, if you're an actual expert, you're specialized in your skill set, this is a great conversation to have. You shouldn't be afraid of it because they're going to want to keep you. Now, a good teller that I'm not ready for fractional work is if they're like, no thanks, we'll just look for someone else. Okay, that means that your value add is not either valued within the organization or you need to hone in on it more. You need more time in that expertise. That's okay too. Make a plan to become a specialist, study, apply, provide value, and get there. Now, adjusting to new routines and building a support system is going to be important because fractional workers, although you will be providing value to a team, you won't be on a team. And I'm a high I in DISC, which is influence. It's the people person. That was difficult for me, is being outside of that transformation, outside of all that conversation and communication, going in, going out, and never being really part of a team. That was a hard transition for me. Now, different work styles in DISC, which I highly suggest that you take this as you get into fractional work because you're going to know your hurdles, your communication habits, the good ones, the bad ones. You're going to know your time wasters. You're going to know why discipline is hard for you or easy. So I highly recommend that. Go to my website, grab up the disc. But when you go into this, how are you going to set up a support system that supports fractional work? Because when you're not in that team, when people aren't holding you accountable, when you don't have someone breathing over your neck having those performance reviews, it can be difficult to stay on task unless you are extremely disciplined and doing some support system actions behind the scenes. So how are you going to manage this all? How are you going to manage multiple projects? How are you going to stay focused so that you're not burning yourself out? In my first 2 years of doing this type of work, I felt like I was more underwater than I was in my executive position, in which I burned out. So it's a big juggle doing not only the work, but you're doing your own marketing, you're doing your own sales, you're connected with new clients, you're trying to get future clients lined up. It's a juggle. So you're going to need a support system at home, and you're going to really need to know your work style as you jump in. So managing the financial part of this, managing the logistics of it, really knowing how this transition and checkpoints will go is going to aid in a smoother transition from this full-time to fractional work. As far as other sections of financials, such as retirement funds, benefits, that's all something to consider as you move forward. There is other options there to get third-party retirement accounts. You can get different benefit plans. They are going to be more expensive because they're not employer sponsored. So just little things like that to consider as you transition from that full-time state down to a part-time or not even on their payroll, and you won't have those benefits. So I'm not going to get too much into that because every state in the United States have different laws and regulations, and I'm not going to be a legal counsel on that today. Please go check out that a little bit more. And then, of course, make sure that you return back here as we continue building your journey to fractional work.